We're ready. We're ready. Here we go. Welcome to Late Night with Larry. I'm your host, Larry D. I'm here with my co-host, Vince. Vince, give me a shout out.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Larry D Studios. Glad to be here. We're in the midst of another lockdown, so we'll be here in the studios for at least 2 weeks, just him and I, and like the song says, me and my wine.
That's right. We're here. We're just going to bring you the best content we can. We're going to do the best we can. I mean, what can we do? This COVID has got everyone just freaking out.
Yeah, and just do the right thing. Take care of yourself. You might be okay, but there might be somebody at home, one of your loved ones, that can't handle it.
Right. So just keep that in mind.
Now, before we get started, I have a little bit of the coronavirus vaccine.
Oh, that's right. This is coronavirus.
This is coronavirus vaccine.
That's right. And it is alcohol. So
yes.
Didn't Donald Trump say we should take alcohol? Was it alcohol license? What's
it was something else, but
Clorox. So this is Clorox.
Yes, we'll do laundry detergent
if need be.
Yeah.
Anyway,
here's for you. Stay safe.
People.
Okay, now I can throw my mask away.
That's right. We're good. We're good until the third strain comes out.
Yeah. So. And lucky for us, we are essential workers, so
that's right.
We're just kidding about being locked down. We get to go to work.
Yeah, I go to work every day because I am an essential worker.
Yep, me too. I'm a sex worker. So
that's what I was gonna say. We're sex workers, and that is essential, is yes. It not?
Actually, I'm kind of nervous because tonight's my first night selling my body.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but anyway.
Anyway. We're glad you got to have a little humor, folks. Come on. But right. We're glad to be here. And tonight we're going to talk to you about, we're talking off the air. And tonight we want to talk about why some people believe in the legend, the elusive creature of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, whatever your tribe may call them.
Cuzzy.
There's different names, but we were just thinking about that. We know why we believe. We're going to tell you why we believe. And then we're going to tell you why we think some people don't believe.
Because in our family, we have some hardcore skeptics.
That's right. I live with one hardcore skeptic. She's my wife.
Right.
And but anyway, we'll start off with why we believe. I believe because I've experienced, I don't know how to say it, but I've experienced several, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not encounters, but incidents. I've encountered several incidents while we were up in the mountains, and we've been up in the mountains because my brother had his experience.
Right.
Now, when he told me about his experience, it got my belief a little higher, because I'm not going to call my brother a liar, especially the way he described it. And his son won't go back, period. So there's some truth to that.
Right.
So I finally got him to go back. And since that time, I have experienced things. And one of the craziest things, well, several crazy things, is we've heard screams in the night that I know no normal man can do that. And I don't mean screams. I should say maybe alpha male territorial howls or calls.
Right.
And one thing that will always stand out in my mind is we were out there alone, and we've said this in previous podcasts, that while we were out there, someone threw a bottle, and there was no one out there. A bottle like the one he's holding up.
Yeah.
And they make that distinctive doop 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 sound when they hit a dirt road. And we heard that, and I looked at my brother and I told him, we're the only ones out here. What the hell was that?
Right, and if you know where we go, it's well off the beaten path.
It is, and we've posted some our previous episodes on YouTube. We showed you exactly with the drone footage where we're at. So if you want to check that out, I think that's episode 59, and that's our drone footage of exactly where we post up and things happen for us.
Yep.
I don't only believe because of that. I mean, the Gimlin-Patterson film really was like an eye-opener for me.
Right.
I even as a child when I saw that, I didn't think that that was a hoax. I'm like, no way. Because and here's the reason why, Vincent. I'm going to tell you. Our dad, when he was younger, he was a manager of a movie theater called the El Morro Movie Theater downtown Gallup. And when they were doing the Planet of the Apes, they had the best high-tech equipment known. They, Hollywood was rolling out all the
Right.
punches for this.
It was the best technology at the time.
Right, and they had a gorilla suit, a cage, everything. It was beautiful props to lure people in to see the movie. And I looked at that gorilla suit, compared that to Patty in the Gimlin Patterson film. There is no comparisons. Now,
Right.
I don't care who you are.
And when they did the gorilla suit thing at the theaters, that was several years after the Patterson Gimlin film. And if you look at the Patterson Gimlin film with an open mind, you could see anatomy, you could see muscle structure.
Right.
I just don't know how you could make a suit like that even today.
Even with today's best technology, I don't think that's going to be possible. I mean, with CGI you can do it, but for us to physically sew a costume, yeah, it's not going to happen. The only way we could do it is if we get someone that's maybe 650 pounds and we glue hair on them like Hollywood would do.
Right.
But
then it'd have to be a wrestler, a bodybuilder, because
Right.
you look at that muscle tone.
Right, and here's the thing. Let's also look at the cranium, the structure of the head. That's going to have to be manipulated. And back when that film was taken, they just didn't have that.
Right.
There's no way.
Right.
There's no way. So between my own, not encounters, but incidents happening up where we go in the mountains, the Patterson Gimlin film, and I'm going to say many years of watching online videos. Some I knew were flat out hoaxes and fakes, but some of the video, Marble Mountain, that was definitely a good.
Right. The Freeman film.
The Freeman film? Yeah, Paul Freeman? Yes.
Yep. Now, I believe things happen for a reason. I don't believe in coincidence. Now, building up to this, throughout our lives, we've had this subject come across our lives. We went on a picnic or camping one time, and we heard the screams. Now,
Right.
we backed it up and hauled ass. And now, when I was in the military, our father worked out of town, and he was coming through back home. There's an area called Continental Divide where it's the highest point in the area, and they got a thicker tree line. So he saw one with his own eyes cross the interstate. He said it was squatted down in the median. It was late at night. So he hit the brights, and him and another car just slowed down, and it took off in front of them, and it just stepped over a fence on the side of the road.
Right. I mean,
Now, our dad was a big, tough, no nonsense kind of guy.
right.
And this shook him up. It took him a few days to even tell our mom about it.
It shook him up for, I think, 3 days, right?
Yeah.
And-
So now we had that. Then just these stories coming to us, and we've heard stories in our hometown about one going through the trash cans. Was it in Mossman?
Right. And when that one was just it passed through Mossman, and supposedly people seen it. Now, I'm going to add to our story of when our dad was, when we were younger. We told this before on a previous episode. We were camping at a place called McGaffey, which is a place. It's in the Cibola Forest here in New Mexico, and we were setting up camp. And our dads heard. We heard it too. But,
Right.
we were young. We heard the scream, and they grabbed their rifles, and a little sooner after they came back, they're like, let's go. Let's get
Yep.
out of here.
Yep.
But, you heard the cows mooing, but once you heard that scream, everything grew silent.
Yeah.
And that's when they grabbed their rifles and they said, what's going on? They did their thing, which we were young little kids. We didn't know. And then they all of a sudden came back and said, nope, pack it up. We're going home.
Right. And see, that brings me to my point where things happen for a reason.
Right.
Maybe, as we said in previous episodes, people say when you go in the forest, they know you're there, they know your intentions. And maybe our paths were meant to cross, because I don't know why. Maybe since I had my encounter, when people come across stories, or they have some kind of encounter, they feel the need to reach out to me and tell me their story.
And that's a cool thing. And we didn't give you our information at the beginning, but we'll do it at the end. And if you have a story, reach out to us and tell us.
Right.
But on to the subject. These are some of the reasons why I believe.
Why we believe.
Right.
It's crossed our path so many times in our life. And I've always, the subject has always intrigued me. But I've always been on the fence, because we're both, kind of have to see it to believe it guys. Like somebody said, we're Christian scientists, or
Yeah.
but we're just, we seek the truth. That's all, plain and simple. And my encounter, I know what it was. I guess it could be considered a Class A, because I seen the outline, I seen the eyes, and they were walking around and they were talking and shaking trees, and it was just crazy. And since that point in time, we go back and we always have some kind of incident.
Right. And that's what intrigued me the most, is when he told me his story and everything that he encountered, and I was like, oh, you got to be kidding. I said, this is what I've been searching for, wanting all my life. And people say be careful what you ask for.
Right.
But I'm like, oh, I want to see one of these creatures, because I do believe they exist. And there's thousands of reports every year, and how can so many thousands of people be seeing a mass hallucination or be lying?
Right.
If that's the case, then we're all liars.
Right. Now, people ask me if I believe, and I tell them, it sounds corny, I'm not a believer, I'm a knower, because I experienced it.
And that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And I'm close to being a knower because of the incidents that have happened to us.
Now, we're not the best woodsmen in the world or whatever, but we're pretty savvy to the animals in our area and the noises they make, and the stuff we've encountered. It's just, what else could it be?
I would just say this, Vince. We go up into the mountains more than your average daily person, way more.
Right.
And so, yeah, we're not living up there, so we're not experts.
We would if we could, but
yeah, if you want to support us, we will.
If you want to start a GoFundMe page so we could get a cabin and do research for you,
we'll do it. We'll move to the mountains in a minute.
We'll make that sacrifice for you.
Just for you people, just for you. So send us your money. We'll take your grandma's gold tooth.
Suicidal tendencies.
There you go.
Now, that's why we believe it. It's not a coincidence. It's been in our life. I think there's a reason. And I think if we persist, like they say, maybe you're going to get more than you bargained for, because some people who have sightings say they wish they never seen it.
Right. And that's the thing. Some people who have seen it, and like I said in the last episode, it's like women that have children. Some want more, some don't.
Right.
Some have one child and say, that's enough. I don't ever want to go through that again.
And I want to go past the sighting. I want to do the interaction. I'm not going to hug them and be buddies, but if I could get them to come close, and like all the stories where they do the gifting and they return gifts, and that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be cool, and it'd be cool if we could get that to happen. I mean, but I'll always keep in the back of my mind that these creatures live in the forest. They're like a bear. They're like anything, so they could turn on a dime.
Right.
And that will always be in the back of my mind. And the reason why I think some people don't believe,
okay,
like we've said,
yes. Now we'll go to the opposite end.
The biggest reason is because they don't go to the forest.
Right. These are the same people who they go verbatim by what the textbook says in school, what science tells them. And if science says, well, we don't know that creature, then they're like, well, it can exist. But on that same token, they need to open their minds, because science discovers new species all the time.
Every day they're discovering new species. There's been new species discovered from the time I was in grade school till now. There's tons of new species.
Or not only new species, but older species they thought were previously extinct. But
Right?
these people, from
Your point of view.
my point of view or my experience talking to these non-believers, most of them, the majority, don't step foot in the wilderness.
And that's my belief as well. I mean, if you're gonna debunk it and say it don't exist, then I believe you should be out there with us.
Right.
And like I tell my wife, because she says, you know, we go out there, and she's glad we go out there because we spend time together. I spend time with my brother, but she says it doesn't exist. I invite her to come with us, but yet she refuses. She says no way.
Right.
I'm like, come with us, and just one time you hear what we hear or experience what happens out there, and you hear some of the things we hear, that may change your mind. Now, my wife, she's always trying to rationalize and say it's this or that. I know she could not rationalize what happens out there.
Right. And one of the reasons she may not want to go out with us is because if she hears something and it kind of makes her lean toward believing, it would shatter what she believes about a lot of other stuff.
It would, and she just will not give me the benefit of the doubt.
Right. And some people aren't, they're just not ready for a mind opening experience like that.
And I'm fine with that. But, you know, if you're going to criticize and say, I don't believe, I think you should get out of the city and go to the forest for yourself. Because I'm going to tell you, there's many people that have had that approach, but yet they've went, oh, I need to get in shape, hiking on a forest trail, and lo and behold, not all of them, but many have an encounter.
Some, yeah, of some sort, yes.
And their world's changed.
Right. And it's people like that, like myself, it does change your life, and it just makes you want to know more. You thirst for knowledge.
Yes, and I'll be honest with you. Since I was like 7 years old, there was a program called In Search of with Leonard Nimoy, and
Right.
they focused on the Loch Ness Monster, on Bigfoot, on paranormal, and it just sucked me in lines,
Hook, line, and sinker.
hook, line, and sinker.
There you go.
That's,
you,
you know,
you got sucked in by Leonard Nimoy. I was
Yeah,
nowhere near there.
I was like, and from that day on, one of my biggest focuses was Bigfoot, because I'm like, you know what? Out of the Loch Ness Monster, I'm like, okay. Out of the UFO paranormal, all this, I'm like, okay. There's two things I could say I've honestly encountered in my life, and that's incidences where I do believe there's Sasquatch out in the forest, and paranormal hauntings. Those I have witnessed personally.
Right.
And
not to get off track here, but I believe if you believe in one and you have some kind of experience, it opens your mind to believing in other things. Now, just recently, our hometown Gallup on Ghost Adventures last week, they did the El Rancho.
right,
And that was a pretty cool episode. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out.
right. And we could have told them to come to the old house we lived in.
Right.
There's some definitely hauntings going on there. And that is what opened my mind, saying, you know what? There is such a thing as a haunting.
And that's why my kids, they're open-minded about all these subjects because they grew up in that house. They've heard the footsteps, they've heard the noises, so they believe the paranormal side. And like I said, if you believe one, that kind of opens the door to believe in other things like cryptids.
That's right. And back onto why we have the naysayers and people that don't believe. You know, we have a lot of scientists that have been given hard factual evidence, and they just refuse to look at it. They don't even want to consider it, or they'll debunk it in their own way. But I do believe that these professors that we send it to, they're afraid to lose their funding for the college and their job. Because if you come out believing and you throw that wrench in, and let's say you're an anthropology professor, and you throw a wrench in and say, no, these creatures have been around for millions of years, and the theory of evolution is wrong, and there's a split, humans are involved in it, and it's not Lucy.
Right.
You know,
And maybe not. It's not entirely wrong. Maybe it's not complete. Their theory.
and if they can't explain it complete, see, universities have the concept that they're right and they have all the answers. And I'm going to tell you, you're right when it comes to Excel, because Excel's hard code, and you know, this plus that minus that, numbers don't lie.
Right. It's proven fact.
It's proven fact. But when it comes to anthropology and zoology and just the human DNA subject, you're wrong. You don't know it all.
Right. I was just gonna say, mankind has come a long way, but we do not know it all.
But the universities want to act like they do, because they're teaching you this is how it is. We've been to the rainforest. We've combed every piece of land. Then why did it take you 60 years to find the panda?
Right, and that's not true, because they haven't. Even here in New Mexico, there is so much land in the mountains where no man has probably ever stepped foot.
But they'll use that excuse, people, as to why this creature don't exist. Everyone's in the forest, everyone's hiking. If it existed, we would have already found it. Well, we have. You just don't want to believe the people that have found it.
Right, but there's a reason they don't believe a lot of the evidence, because you have these goons, you know, the hoaxers.
Yeah.
And they kind of kill everybody's credibility.
And they do. And you know what? And you're going to have them, because in the UFO community, you have the hoaxers that made their own crop circles. But here's the thing, science went deep in that, and they debunked the hoaxers quick by the way that the wheat was breaking and the way it broke and the radioactivity inside the break. The hoaxers, they don't have a foot to stand on.
Right.
Now, I'm not trying to sell you the UFO contingency or the conspiracy theory or whatnot, but that's theirs. I'm trying to sell you the Bigfoot.
Right.
And
well, we're not even really trying to sell you. We're trying to
convince you.
Well, we're trying to give you the real evidence so you could make a informed decision for yourself.
Right, it's an informed decision, but I'm leaning on trying to convince you that it is out there. Because the more people we have convinced, hey, guess what? The more they're going to take it serious and fund this expedition.
And that's why when we go out there, we gather some evidence. Like when we went out for the drone footage, we found footsteps. And before we even posted them, we went back and forth trying to debunk, you know, could it be this, could it be that? And once we came to our conclusion, that's...
Right, and I mean, when we're out there, if we hear something, we're going to try and debunk it, because we don't want to tell you something and then later someone says, well, it could have been that, and it gets debunked, and we, you know.
Right, and even if we catch evidence, we're going to comb through it and make sure we're not, you know, jumping to conclusions. And I sent my brother some audio clips I had. One of them was from the first night. I don't know if he's posted them yet.
I haven't. I need to enhance the sound, and I'll do that. And
but you've heard them. Now, tell me, what else could that be?
That's exactly my point. When we go to these mountains, there's certain things that you hear in the night that you cannot debunk and you cannot explain. It can't be a man. We know what a dying rabbit sounds like, what a coyote sounds like, what a bear sounds like. It doesn't fall into categories.
Right. Now the audio I sent you, one of the whoops, it's a primate.
Right.
You could tell it's primate.
So
and then it's breaking off limbs and smacking the tree.
So then what monkeys do we have living in the Jemez Mountains?
Other than the ones I dated.
That's right. Cha-cha.
But anyway, getting back to the naysayers, the majority of naysayers, they've never stepped foot in the wilderness. No. And now I work in a small community. It's not where I live. I work in a different community than I live, but a lot of those people are hunters, and they go out every year. They go. They even work for outfitters. They do tracking, and they say they have never ever seen or heard anything like that. But the area that they're hunting is Mount Taylor in New Mexico, and I've Googled it. I can't find a single story from that area.
And when he brought it to my attention, I did the same thing. I looked for any reports, any stories in that area, and there's nothing in that area. what seems to be the areas of the hotspot here in New Mexico are where the mountains are formed and the game trails go. Now, there is hunting up there because, you know, of course, deer, elk, they're going to roam. But the real hot spots follow the mountainous area. And I think the reason is because Mount Taylor's a dormant volcano. If they were to make that a domicile, they would be discovered quickly. As long as they stay on these highly forested mountain chains, it's going to be hard for you and I to find them.
Right. Now, Mount Taylor, this town, Grants, is at the base, so everyone always goes right there. And I haven't been to Mount Taylor in a long time, and I don't know, is it thick like the Jemez?
No.
I don't believe it's as thick.
It's not. Mount Taylor, it's got some trees, but you know, of course, and that's probably why it's a good hunting ground, because the elk and the deer can't hide. Although they pass through there, I don't think an intelligent creature like a Squatch would use that passageway
Right.
for that same reason. For one, I've heard that they do know what that boomstick does, so they're gonna avoid it. You know, they're like an army. They see someone armed with a weapon, you're not gonna just come out and show yourself. You're gonna camouflage yourself. You're gonna maneuver yourself and be stealthy.
Now, getting back to a lot of these hunters that say they don't believe, I've talked to them, you know, we'll talk like at work, and yeah, they hassle me sometimes, blah, blah, blah. He likes big hairy men, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's all good fun hazing, but sometimes they'll pull me to the side and they'll ask me, where do you go? You know, and their curiosity gets the best of them. And to me, that tells me that they still have an open mind.
That's
and
right.
I invite them anytime you want to come with me.
And before we leave, my other point is, throughout this country's history, every native tribe that has been encountered has a story about these creatures. Now, these stories go far back before colonization.
Right,
How can we debunk that?
right.
Are we to call all the native tribes that inhabited this land before colonization liars? You know, I'm sure that don't sit well with tribes.
No,
So that there too is another credible source for me.
right.
I'm like, these people have lived in harmony with them. And I've listened to some tribal elder stories that say the harmony with them stopped when colonization started because of the colonizers and their weapons and how they just randomly killed everything they thought didn't belong here.
Right. Now, to get to that, well, get back to the point of when they did the Planet of the Apes or the Legend of Boggy Creek. We were young.
Right. Yeah.
Things were different. So it kind of intrigued us. It scared us. It made us believe or want to believe.
Right.
And now in today's society, I think we have so many naysayers. Is everyone's looking at their phone. They could search everything, and they think just because they search it on their phone that it's
Exist.
well, no, they think everything that comes on their phone off the internet it's got to be fact.
Yeah, we know how that works.
And another thing about hunters or like hikers, when you go on the mountain, I brought this point up to my brother. When you're out there, you're not looking around. You're watching your footing.
That's right. You're watching the trail you're walking on.
That's why people stumble upon bears, mountain lions, because they don't want to trip. They're watching their footing.
And some of the best footage for these supposedly creatures caught on camera was because people were just going about their business, watching where they were going, and they come back and review the footage and say, oh my God, the camera, look what the camera caught.
Yeah.
To the left in the tree, looking at us.
Right, because the camera's not pointing down.
That's right. The camera has a wide angle and it catches more things than your eyes.
Right.
And-
And that's why we're bumping up our technology. We're taking more cameras with us, and we're learning as we go.
That's right.
Because we want you to believe.
That's right. When we started out, it was just us and our naked eyes.
Naked.
Okay, we weren't naked. My eyes had chones on.
I have contacts.
That's right. Anyway, we do want to try someday to bring you a good, clear video shot of what we hear up there. and I don't think we'll stop.
No, we won't. This will be a pursuit, and even if we do catch some good hardcore evidence,
Someone's going to debunk it.
well, not only that, we're in it for the long haul. We're going to learn more. Just like Ron Moreland going up to the Sierra Nevada. They got some great footage early on, and they kept going back every year.
And they still go back every year.
Yes.
But
or Moorhead, I'm sorry, not
Ron Morehead.
Roger Moorhead.
Roger Moorhead. Yeah.
Well, just,
Yeah, pun between us. But no, and that's why we wanted to talk about this tonight. Now, you out there listening or watching, what is your opinion? Are you a believer? If so, tell us why. Are you not a believer? If so, tell us why.
And if you're not a believer, would you be open to going out with somebody who says they found a pretty good area?
Yes. And
because the non-believers, like his wife,
she refuses to go.
She refuses, but she refuses to budge on her beliefs too.
But she refuses to go, but yet she'll use her belief and say that's why it can't happen. I'm like, no. God created everything. He gave you instructions with the Bible. He didn't tell you, I'm going to tell you everything that happens on this earth.
Right.
So if you're willing to go, I'm sure you could find people that have had experiences that are willing to take you.
Right. And the most important thing you could take with you is an open mind.
That's right. And if you have a story that you say, I'm a believer and this is why, man, I'd like to hear it. Send it to us. And you can do that at latenightwithlarry55@gmail.com. Send it to us, and we want to hear it.
Yeah, we want to hear it. We ordered some new technology so we could take phone calls, but because of the COVID and the supply chain, things ain't working out like we want yet.
They keep blowing me off. So this is a shout out to Sweetwater. Get that shit in and get it.
Yeah, eventually we'll have it, but for now, email us. We'll figure some way to get your story on the phone, or even if you want to pass it to us and we'll pass it on, you could be anonymous or
That's
whatever.
Right. And I'm dying to get this technology in because I want people on the line.
Right.
And that's going to make for better conversation, better content, and we're looking forward for you to call us.
Right. Give us a call because we're always here.
That's right. And anyway, that's what we wanted to discuss tonight. It may not be a lot to some people, but to us, it's things we think about.
Yeah, and that's why we started this podcast, because this is the kind of conversations we have off camera, off mic.
All the time.
Yeah, and that's why we started the podcast, because we could drive up to the mountains and we'll talk for hours straight. And he said, we should just record this.
That's right. And we're going to.
Yes. The only thing that changed is we don't make our funny sounds no more.
That's right. And anyway, protect this planet because this is the only planet that has wine. Gotcha.
Boom. And
Boom.
beer.
There you go. So people be cool to each other. Stay safe. Peace.
Believe.